you to leave is no matter how you get your work done, no matter what you do, no matter how important it is, family matters most. And make sure whoever you love knows before you go to bed tonight that you really, really love them. Go give somebody you love a hug. And I even do this when I'm face to face in front of crowds, and usually the applause is light because somebody at their table is hugging each other, and that's okay. uh, Tell somebody they matter, and then make sure after tonight that you start tomorrow making sure they matter. Use their time and attention differently.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host Neha Murthy, and let's begin with a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-way integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Bill Jensen. Bill Jensen is the CEO of the Jensen Group. He helps companies and teams double their productivity and pursue their passions. He has spent the past 30 years of studying how work gets done. He has been ranked as a top 5 global thought leader of the future of work, a top 5 global thought leader on change management, and a top 10 global thought leader on digital disruption. Bill is an internationally acclaimed thought leader who is known for extremely useful content with a passion for making it easier for everyone to work smarter, not harder. Bill has written 9 best-selling business books, all focused on helping you do and your best. His first book, Simplicity, was the number 5 leadership management book on Amazon in 2000. His latest books, Future Strong and The Day Tomorrow Said No, map the tough choices each of us make to create our best futures. We're extremely thrilled and honored to have someone of his stature on our interview series today. Welcome, Bill. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's absolutely our pleasure. So, jumping right into the questions, Bill, you've had an incredible 8 best-selling books, and now you're the CEO of the Jensen Group. Can you tell us a bit about the amazing journey you've had so far? We'd also like to know more about your book, The Day Tomorrow Said No.
Sure. Well, how it led to this latest book. For the past 35 years, I've been researching how we actually work, not how we're supposed to work, how we actually work and how we actually lead people and manage people, not what the books say you're supposed to do, but what we actually do. So to date, over 35 years, I've interviewed over a million, interviewed and surveyed over 1 million people across the globe. And what I try to do is ask the questions that no one else is ever asking. And that led to my first book, Simplicity, which was just how do we make your hard work simpler? How do we make it easier for you to work smarter, not harder? So, most every book and most every research project is around one simple, commonsensical question. How do we make your work simple? How do we prepare you for the future? How do we change the future? So that's where all the books come from. And the latest, the day tomorrow said no. One of the one of the research findings that I had in the last few years, I've asked thousands. I'm going to ask you a question, so be prepared. The one of the questions I've asked thousands of people around the globe is, can you achieve your dreams where you currently work? Now, at peopleHum, of course, you're going to say yes, but let's take the average around the globe. If the number is going to be somewhere between 0% and 100% across the globe, can you achieve your dreams where you currently work? How many people do you think would say yes? What percentage wise?
Maybe 10 to 15% people.
You're exactly right, and that's sad. Only 9.8% said they could achieve their. Less than 10% said yes. What does that do for us? So what I did is I took this one fact and then I built a story around it. How we connect it with the future as human beings is we tell stories. fables, anecdotes, humorous, sad, but we tell stories to each other. So I created a fable about the future of work. And the story starts where there are three characters: today, the present; tomorrow, future; and little one, which is the workforce of the future. And the story begins with that little fact. And tomorrow says, I'm running out of dreams. I don't have enough dreams to build the future with. We've got to change this. So she says, no, she always took the handoff from today. Says, no, I'm not taking the handoff today. I'm not going to do it. You're set up 8 billion people to fail. And this is I began writing it way before COVID-19 and the coronavirus. But since we've had this global pandemic, the one thing that it's shown is that we're leaving too many people behind. So this is a book about we're leaving too many people behind and we have to change. So everybody can get that book for free. They go to the website www.tomorrow said yes, only the last two letters, it's .es, tomorrow said yes.es. You can get that book for free. I'll send it to you for free. We always say we got to change, we got to change, we got to change, and then we don't do it because we're lacking the courage to do the change. Well, this is what happens when the future says, no, you're lacking the courage. We need to do something.
Absolutely. And as you said, I just realized it is so important to know where we are heading, and are we heading towards the dream that we have in mind, and are we really focused towards it?
And one of the questions I can give all of your viewers and listeners to think about is this also comes from one of the coaching assignments that I give all the leaders that I coach around the globe. I ask them, what do you want your legacy to be 3 years from now? Let me unpack that. First, what do you want your legacy to be? You don't have to die to leave a legacy, but it is like on, around what's your eulogy? What are people going to say? It's that kind of thing. But your legacy is the impact you leave on people. So separate your products, your services, your company, your teammates. What's the overall impact 3 years from now? What's the impact you want to have on people? And why I select 3 years from now? There was recently a TED talk that said the amount of change that's going to happen over the next 20 years is going to be greater than the past 2,000 years. Now, I don't know about you if you can keep up with that change, but I can't. And yet, that's what's going to happen to all of us. And if you take 20 years equals 2,000 years, that's about a lifetime's worth, depending on the amount of tech you use, that's about a lifetime's worth of change every year to 1 to 3 years. So that's why. What do you want your legacy to be every 3 years from 3 years from now? Please, everyone, think about that and write it down. It's important to help guide you through the future.
Right. That is so meaningful. Thank you so much for that. And also, you have been termed as Mr. Simplicity since you focus on making work easier for teams and doubling their productivity. Could you share some tips on that with us?
Sure. What I've learned, the essence of simplicity ends up being empathy, caring about the other person. And what do I mean by that? Well, let me first ask another question. 1,440, 1440. It's the most important number in business that nobody ever talks about. Any idea what it is? You encountered it yesterday. You're going to encounter it tomorrow. You're encountering it today. What do you think it is? Any idea?
No.
It's the number of minutes in every day. And why
Oh,
that's so important is nobody gets 1441. You don't get to add more time. And yet, what's happening since the internet happened, and email and voicemail and texting and all the other social media that we have coming at us, everybody, the entire universe can keep sending us more and more and more and more. And it doesn't stop, it keeps coming. And yet, we only get 1440 minutes every day. So the essence of simplicity is empathy, caring about how we use the other person's time and attention. Every single day, your viewers and listeners, the only way they get their work done, you, yes, you in audience land, I'm talking to you, the only way you get your work done is you use a portion of someone else's life. It's the only way it happens. So simplicity is not just efficiency and effectiveness, tick, 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 get things done more faster, more better, faster, being more efficient. Simplicity is caring about your fellow human being and using their time and attention more efficiently and effectively so that they have a better life. So I teach people in that transactional level how to write emails, how to run meetings, how to do voicemails, how to do texts, how to do social media, how to be how to be more in as we implement our ideas, how to be more caring and efficient in how we use everybody else's time and attention.
Wow, I mean, that's such a valuable insight that you have given. I mean, time is the most valuable and, time is the most impactful thing that we can ever record through, right? And using someone else's time and making the impact through it is something that is really very useful.
And a very simple rule for peopleHum audiences. The rule of 3 to 5 always. Oh, you can't overrule it. It's always there. And what that relates to is people's attention span.
Yeah.
When you're sending something electronically, their attention span is 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you have. That's maximum. By the way, it's usually less, but that's the maximum amount of time. So you've got to grab their attention, be efficient, be focused, give them the information, not just be flamboyant and circus like in grabbing attention, but the material you give them must be focused on their needs, 3 to 5 seconds. Face to face, which includes now more virtual, we only have 3 to 5 minutes, again, maximum 3 to 5 minutes maximum face to face, 3 to 5 seconds maximum electronically to capture people's attention. So you need to focus on what do they need, give it to them exactly the way they need it quickly.
Absolutely, completely agree to that. And also, like in the recent times, we've heard a lot about the future of work and where the future is heading to, right? So, as someone who holds expertise in AI analytics and IoT, where do you see the future of work is heading with respect to technology?
Well, you won't be surprised to hear that I place the emphasis on people, not technology. Peop- Technology, everything you listed, AI and everything else, it's just a tool. It's just a tool like a hammer or a saw or anything else to help us get work done. Uh, and it helps it because it's thinking for the first time in human history, our tools can think for themselves. We program them, but they learn from us and they think for themselves. So we need to build more humanity into those tools. So what everything I'm on the road, well, at least before COVID, I was on the road constantly. Now a lot more virtually. Um, but from India to China to the US, throughout all of Europe, Australia, everywhere in the world I've been, um, I basically preach one gospel, and that is digital transformation is really, really ultimately about people transformation. So how are you going to use the tools to transform human behavior? And unfortunately, too little time is spent on this. I'll give you a very brief example. The oldest running commercial AI system is actually an airline reservation system. It was originally built by American Airlines. It's called Sabre. Now it's advanced, and every airline in the world uses it, variations of it. But it's all about how do we get the most butts in the chairs in the most efficient way and the cheapest way and the most profitable way. And it constantly is refiguring, flight patterns and seat configurations and everything else. Um, well, a couple years ago, United Airlines had its stock completely tank. Well, why was that? Because the computer told everybody, including the people at the front of the gate, we're overbooked. Somebody needs to volunteer. Well, nobody volunteered. So the computer, not a person, the computer, the AI system assigned a certain person in a certain row that you got to get off. And he said, "No, I don't want to get off." He was a doctor. He needed to go somewhere. Um, I'm not getting off. They called security. They dragged him down the aisle. They bloodied his head, banging his head against the seats. And all of this was on social media, people filming it, crying out, "What are you doing to this poor man? He doesn't want to go. Stop making him go." And he didn't do anything wrong. It's just the computer decided. United Airlines for a while their stock tanked because there was no common sense. There was no human interface. Nobody was empowered to say, "How about we offer you 10,000 US? How about 10,000 US? Will anybody get off the plane?" Somebody would have, but nobody thought to offer that. Nobody was empowered to do that. The flight attendants, the captains, the airline security, nobody. Computers are now our bosses. So this is what happens when our bosses, we don't build humanity into our computers. Humans need exceptions. Humans need things based on them, not just the way the analytics say it's about them. So what I help people do around the world is say, okay, you're going to do this with AI, you're going to do this with the Internet of Things. Okay, you can collect this data. What are you going to do with it? How is it going to help people? How are they going to help themselves using this data and this information? So everything boils down to one simple thing. Digital transformation is really about people transformation, and you always have to work it that way.
Absolutely, I completely agree to that. I mean, technology is something that is to be worked like an helping a hand to the people, and people cannot be replaced by technology. Thank you so much. And you've also emphasized that daily to dos can help one go a long way. With what has definitely been a challenging year for all of us, could you suggest a few similar strategies that employees must adhere to, in order to transition into hopefully more productive and promising new year?
There's lots of transactional to-dos I could give you. How to do Zoom meetings better, how to be prepared. Uh, But what I'd like to focus on is something that most people haven't done. You can get lots of how-tos at my site, simplerwork.com. There's lots of free downloads there. Uh, but what I'd like to emphasize is the one question I've been asking leaders all around the world um, for the last year, and it's introspective. And we don't take the time during crises, during crazy times, to do introspection. So the question is, throughout all of 2020 and all of the COVID lockdowns and quarantining and everything else, what's the one biggest thing you learned about you during this crisis? Now, I've asked thousands of people so far, and I'll give you a hint where it may go for you, the viewer, the listener. There are two common themes. One, family truly is the most important thing. We always had excuses for, "Oh, I got to stay late at the office. I can't come home for the kids. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll read them a bedtime story. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't make it home in bedtime story." We always had excuses for why work mattered above family. What every single person out there learned is family is the one thing that matters most, regardless of how many work pressures there are. And the other theme that came up is, oh my God, I never realized how resilient and adaptable I truly am. Companies and individuals that were always going to work in an office suddenly had a week to reconfigure all of their work to not go into offices anymore. How did they do that? And the third thing, which is the theme of the book, Tomorrow Said No, is many people realized how many people were leaving behind. Yes, many of us could go to work virtually, but the person who did maintenance on the machine or cleaned the floors or made the food or was a waitress or, there were so many jobs that could not be done virtually, and they were left behind by COVID-19. We really need to rethink that. So those are three introspective possibilities for you. Family matters. Oh my God, I didn't realize how resilient and adaptable I am. Um, and how many people we're leaving behind. Please go do that question. What is the one biggest thing you've learned for you? Those were my three. Maybe yours is going to be different. What's the one thing you learned differently now? How are that the next step is how are you going to carry that into the next couple of years? What are you going to change about how you do you differently? Not how you do your job, how you do you differently. That's probably the most important thing I can leave everybody with.
Absolutely, that makes so much of sense. I mean, this year has been like more about knowing ourselves and learning more things about self. And now it's the time to apply all this thing that we have learned and to go across the road. Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that in highlight.
I'm what I hope all of your viewers and listeners get is something I'd like to leave in closing, and this is about my book. Tomorrow Said Yes. Again, you have the website or my main website, simplerwork.com, where you can get lots of free tools. But I very often close my in-person speaking engagements, regardless. I may be talking about artificial intelligence. It doesn't matter how tech-heavy or or I'm talking about leadership development. I'm talking about something else. I very often close my speaking engagements with this. Um, Here's how we'll know if this talk was successful. I want you to go, once you stop viewing or listening, go hug somebody and tell them you love them. Because the most important thing is not just how we use people's time and attention, but that family matters. And I learned this how I learned my big lesson was July 14th, 1994. It was the night my mom died. And they lost her in the hospital for 40 minutes. They sent us as a family in one direction, and they sent her in another direction. And I will never, ever get those 40 minutes back with mom. Yeah, I was with her when she passed, but I'm never going to get those. So the message that I want you to leave is no matter how you get your work done, no matter what you do, no matter how important it is, family matters most. And make sure whoever you love knows before you go to bed tonight that you really, really love them. Go give somebody you love a hug. And I even do this when I'm face to face in front of crowds, and usually the applause is light because somebody at their table is hugging each other, and that's okay. uh, Tell somebody they matter, and then make sure after tonight that you start tomorrow making sure they matter. Use their time and attention differently.
Wow, that's so beautiful. It's a simple act that leaves behind a lot of impact. Thank you so much for that, Bill. I had a lovely conversation with you, a lot of eye openers throughout the conversations, and a lot of insights to learn. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure our audience are going to be helpful through it as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.